You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Welcome back to the Renegade Blitz podcast. I'm Ty Polk with Chris Ward and Brandon Walker. I've actually said both of our names the last time we did a podcast like this. I didn't, so Brandon, thank you for reminding me. But there's one thing to talk about this. The Steelers won. They defeated the Carolina Panthers in a game that it has a lot to talk about. I mean, when you take a look at this team, the big story is, has Matt Canada found a way to stick around? Because when you think about it with the last 2 weeks, he's somehow been able to game plan it. He has not been – the Steelers have not won in spite of him, and they have not lost because of him. So, Brandon, as the resident Big Takes Brandon, what's your thoughts on this? Is Matt Canada sticking around for another year?
Looks like. And honestly, to be honest, it could be the better. You're better off keeping him for another year with Pickett and you got Pickens, and you still got these young players on the team. You just got to upgrade the offensive line, get rid of certain things. It's like the jet sweep, the tight end screens, and throw the ball to your tight ends a little bit more. One target for Zach Gentry, none for Frymouth, and none for Connor Hayward. I think the tight end group is your deepest, most strongest asset to your offense. You got to use that for sure.
Agreed. I mean, Frymouth not getting anything lost me my fantasy week. I mean, there was a bunch of other things you could go with there. I thought that Jalen Waddle wasn't going to do something, so I put in Chris Olave, and that blew up in my face. I mean, there's a lot of things, if you're a fantasy owner, you're not very happy about this week, especially if you're a Steelers fan plus fantasy owner like myself. But I think the one thing that kind of gets the Steelers off the hook, especially with Canada, is the improvement of the run game. Last week was an off week, no doubt, but it got itself back together this week, no doubt. And if you want proof, the Steelers had a 21-play, 13-minute drive. Now, you'll never see anything like that again in this league on a consistent basis or anything more than once in a while. But I have to say, this ball control Steelers offense harkens you back to pre-Ben, and even sometimes I remember a stretch during the 6th Super Bowl year in which they focused on the run a little bit more, and they kind of, in a way, took the ball out of Ben Roethlisberger's hands.
Yeah, I mean, they're running the ball really well right now. Last week was, the only, blimp there for them. The Ravens are always tough to run against. But as far as Matt Canada, he have improved, but I don't really know if he could develop Pickett, really. I think they need a elite offensive core, offensive mind. Like, I still don't know about Matt Canada and drawing up, passing patterns and route combinations. The run game has always been his strength, and they're starting to find a groove there with the offensive line coach and everything. They're running the ball downhill. Najee's healthy, but I'm really still. I don't think Canada's I still think he's at the least a bottom 5 offensive coordinator in the NFL.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you could be right, Chris, but they found something. They found something.
At least something that.
A foundation that you can build upon. Number one, if you get if you get some more adults in the room, but you still got to hit on this next draft, whatever positions you got, offensive line, defensive line. There's still a lot of holes on this roster, and even though they are 6-8, it doesn't look that bad. But look at the teams that they've been playing.
Yeah, they swept the NFC South. I mean, that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, they won 4 of their last 6 games, but they beat the Saints, Colts, Falcons, and Panthers, which, that's – I know you got to beat the teams that you play on your schedule, but, I mean, that's nothing really to write home about. I mean, they play the Raiders on Christmas Eve. They're 6-8 too, but they have their own issues. I mean, they've lost to the Colts this year. They've blown a lot of leads. They won on a crazy play against the Patriots. So who knows what's going to happen which Raiders team's going to show up. But I don't know. Like, Tom, he needs to go. What was it, 3-0 or 2-0-1 to keep his 15-year non-losing season streak alive and everything. But it's going to be close. I said in the beginning of the year that they'll go 7-11. They might reach that, or maybe 8-9. I don't know.
I mean, that's the one thing you have to think about with the Steelers. I mean, they've even mentioned this streak in the locker room, which, I mean, as weird and preposterous as it is, I like the fact that they're at the very least playing for their coach. I think at this point with the Steelers team, you want the world from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We all want Super Bowls. We all want at least a playoff victory. But if the team's playing for the coach and they're mentioning this as their motivational point, because I don't think I'll ever see this season really has made me think, I don't know if I'll ever see a truly down and out horrible season from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the foreseeable future of my lifetime. I really don't believe it now, because maybe with a new coach, maybe if the rest of the AFC North takes an incredible quantum leap that has them feeling like they're going up against the Patriots every week and it's going to be a loss for them in their heyday. Yeah. But I just take a look at this season. I think back to the 2019 season, and I go, the team can be bad, which this is not a good team, but it won't be a downright awful team, no matter what. I don't know what's sprinkled into the grass at Acrisure Stadium, but it somehow keeps this team at the very least middling to who knows.
Yeah. I mean, the Steelers are obviously they're never gonna back down and tank or whatnot. But from a fans, there's fans out there are not happy about them winning against these NFC South teams, because they currently have the 14th overall pick. I mean, they have the 33rd with the Chase Claypool trade, and the Bears keep on losing, so that's a good thing. But they need that draft capital and everything, and because if you keep on looking at it from like a fan idea of it and the whole thing, if you keep on picking in the middle and stuff, you're just gonna stay middle. You're not gonna. You don't have to stay middle, but it's like you need some elite players, and they have to hit in the draft with their picks.
The problem is they haven't been hitting in their drafts lately.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You got to have a transformative player or two,
like a cornerback. I said that during the game. Sam Darnold was lighting them up there at one point in the game.
Oh yeah, corner, yes. Ugh. But it's just the fact that you just need to just find a transformational talent that could get you from the middle to the elite.
And
I think
back right now either. Pickett's been hurt. It's been okay, I guess. Hasn't really lit the stat sheet up. And Trubisky's what he is. I mean, he's like a game manager. Like, he didn't turn the ball over. Like, he doesn't throw over the middle. But I mean, he did what was needed to win the game, though.
I mean, the question is with that, I see it from Steelers fans. And look, at one point, we're celebrating the Immaculate Reception. The Steelers as a franchise was arguably one of the worst in the NFL before that moment. They were on the rise, but when people talk about the Immaculate Reception, they talk about the turning of the turn of the tables for the Steelers franchise as its whole. Now you're waiting for that moment for the Steelers where they finally turn the table into yet again a viable Super Bowl contender. And I see it. I see why people are not exactly happy about the Steelers winning, but I also go out like this. You are going to complain if they lose to these teams anyway.
Yes.
Like what do you want to do here? Like the question is, and then I always say this: if you want to take a look at tanking, you could go watch the Pirates. I mean, but that's tanking with no idea of what they're doing. I think the one thing that Steelers fans know that whenever this team inevitably says we got to clean the cupboard here, it's going to be a good team that comes out of this situation. There's not going to be wasted motion when they say, "Hey, we're not good. We're trying to get good." I get it, but there's a lot of things that you want in these situations that you can't necessarily have your cake and eat it too.
Of course, because but the rolling rebuild can work. I mean, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Ty, because they would moan and groan if they lost to Carolina anyway. They'll moan and groan if they lose to the Raiders. We ain't not that winning season. Y'all gonna moan and groan anyway. Like it doesn't matter. But the thing is, what is the solutions? You got to find them in the draft. You got to start hitting. You got to start doing better in the talent acquisition period. And also, I think Tomlin has to be a better a better coach overall, because I think it's been slipping through the cracks the past few years, and nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to admit it. Everybody wants to say Coach Tomlin, great, great is and all that stuff. But
in what ways? Like talent evaluation, schematics, or
schematics. I'm talking everything. I'm talking like schematics, holding your players accountable. How you not know what happened with Marcus Allen?
Yeah, that was a head scratcher.
And that's probably a good segue for that. But it's just like it seems like ever since the players have always ran the asylum over there, and it started with Ben. It started with Ben being who he is, Ben, and then it spilled over to AB, Le'Veon, and all these other guys, and then now we got these
marginal players like Marcus Allen.
Marginal players are starting to say, "Look, I'm gonna do whatever I want to. I got the black and gold on. What y'all gonna do?" And going out in the clubs and talking and doing all this with these women and stuff, trying to tell these women like, "Hey, I'm about to go get the black. I got the black and gold. I'm a silly."
Okay, let's repaddlate that conversation, because there's a lot of people that will also say that in the best of times for the Steelers organization, it was like that. But that's another thing that we'll talk about. But let's talk about this. I want to also preface this and let me remind people that I don't know what it is about the Carolina Panthers franchise against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but lately it's kind of been a little bit of a chippy game with that. And I don't know, granted, there's a lot of roster turnover since the last time that I remember the Steelers facing Carolina, and that was the game, probably one of the last vestiges of a great offensive game the Steelers had with Antonio Brown and Ben and the like. But of course, if you remember, Ben got probably a little bit taken to task by Eric Reed, and then Marquise Pouncey didn't like that, and that caused a little bit of brouhaha because you don't touch your quarterback. It just felt like, even for everyone always talks about the Steelers, especially if you're not a fan of Mike Tomlin, saying that they're undisciplined. This just felt like something set them off. Like, I don't know what Carolina was saying. There was actually a mention of the Carolina corners talking smack about the Steelers wide receiver group. And they did a pretty good job the other day. I'm wondering now, and that really prefaces my point. What was going on out there with the Steelers in Carolina? Because they were upset whenever they were getting beat by Cincinnati, but that's a division rival. You want that to happen. As much as I respect the Carolina Panthers franchise and all the things they've done, from making it to the Super Bowl, making it to the NFC Championship game in their second season, I've never personally felt that, at least as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and seeing it and imagining myself as a Steeler, that they would care what anything of those guys had to say, because it's non-consequential.
It was kind of random how chippy the game was with the Panthers. I mean, both teams are 5-8, so maybe they're just like frustrated with their season. But yeah, the Marcus Allen penalty, that was probably one of the dumbest penalties that I've seen in quite some time. And they got back-to-back sacks. I think it was like 4th and 27, and for some reason he went over to their huddle and stuff. Just like, there's just no need for that. And ended up giving 3 points, and it kind of swung the momentum to Carolina. And as Brandon mentioned, I don't know what Tom was. He mentioned 3 points, but he didn't know like what the whole details.
Yeah, like
I don't know how he doesn't know what happened there. And 3 points, it might not seem like a lot, but like that's a lot in a game like that. And like they almost came back because of it. It swung the momentum. And Marcus Allen,
it's just undisciplined ball. Yeah, there's something about the last time they played was a blowout here. I think that was
2018.
The last gasp of Cam Newton.
Yeah, last gasp. 2014. I don't remember too much about that game, but it was a little bit chippy there too. But yeah, it always seems like it's physical with them. I'm like, when it was going something, you know how it is. Two below average teams, frustrated with their season, just trying to hang on for dear life. And actually, Carolina still has a game out of the NFC South, which is a joke. So it's just – and as for Mr. Marcus Allen, he's a nice kid. I will give you he gave me a story for Nittany Sports. Now, but that was a bad penalty. If I were Tomlin, I would fine him. I might have to sit him down for the Raiders game, deactivate him.
Yeah, I saw people talking about that.
Keep giving Mark Robinson some hats. That's a hat that you be giving him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that was the first time he had a hat this year, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Marcus Allen, he's not really that great, but he's a special teams player, and I really he's not great, I don't think, but I mean he's known to be their hype up guy and whatnot, and he gets them energized. But
yeah, he's the walk in your trap, take over your trap guy.
Yeah. So I guess that's what he's known for. Yeah, Brandon's doing the Tomlin, but it's just a bad penalty. I don't think he should be cut. Like some people are saying, maybe like you mentioned, Brandon, maybe sit him down against the Raiders, or a heavy fine or whatnot. But I don't know. I'm just lucky. They're just lucky that it didn't cost them the game. Because I mean, imagine if Carolina scored a touchdown off of that.
Oh.
And they're capable of it, but I guess I'll be the Brandon Walker for this situation. If he did that on 4th and 27, gave up an automatic first down.
Yeah,
I promise you, the only field he would see is for the Pittsburgh Maulers. that you can't do that against any NFL team. That be in your face. Be all about that, and also there's a lot that could be talked about with the NFL's taunting rule, because that's just dumb in general. I mean, if you make a play, as long as it's not basically trying to emasculate someone, if you're just getting up their face and say, "Yeah, I made that play," what's the issue?
Yeah,
but he went over there when there's nobody.
He did go over there.
Yeah,
for no reason.
He was deserving of that penalty. That's another thing I wanted to mention to Deontay Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah. Like that, he was deserving of that penalty. Why are you over there? unless the play happened over there, but unless the play happened over there,
This was
but it was
between
well
quarters.
after. Yeah,
This was
so you should be back on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was going out there for the punt, I guess, and he went over to their huddle or what. Yeah, it was just, beyond dumb. Mark's out. Like, I know he felt bad after the game. He talking to reporters and everything, but, I mean, you just can't.
He manned up to it, unlike other people.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that whole Gio Bernard situation.
I mean, if a guy doesn't want to talk, a guy doesn't want to talk, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too offset, but as far as the Gio Bernard thing, I felt like the reporters were a little bit out of line there.
They were, because it was like, you give us something to talk about. You ain't give us anything to talk about all year. Except this. I'm like,
well, Gio Bernard has been a solid rotational running back piece for Tampa. He's not the Gio Bernard that you remember from the Andy Dalton, AJ Green days up in Cincinnati, but he's been, from what I've seen and what I've gathered, a solid rotational piece.
I know, like, the players are obligated, it's in their contract and everything. I don't know what happened before then, but, like, he answered all the questions and stuff. There's not much really left to say. He made a bad play on the fake punt or whatever.
He didn't know it was a fake punt.
Yeah. I just thought, like, the reporters, like, the way they were talking was, like, it sounded like somebody, when a player or anybody was in, like, legal trouble or something, that's what like their tone sounded like, and it was really not that serious of whatever was going on.
Yeah. The reporter was
they lost by 17 anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know when the play occurred, what time of the game that set play occurred, but there was plenty of ball that was ball played before and after. It might have changed the tide of the game, but you still had time to make up for that gaffe.
It happened in a period where Tampa just couldn't get out of their own end. Like, they were consistently hemmed up at around their, like, 25, 30-yard line, and something would happen in which it got picked, that situation for them. It was a mess for Tampa. That entire NFC South is NFC ouch right now, but, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. You mentioned it, George Pickens is him. And hopefully, if Chris is on his game, he'll be able to get my memes off out here.
So I think people got it last week. A lot of people retweeted. I think they actually got the reference of
No. I think they just like you. I just think they like someone being a cheerleader. I mean, no one's making a T-shirt.
They saw George Pickens' name and stuff, and they just like,
right.
Bingo.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was, but. Yeah, they got to target him more, though. I think he only had 3 targets again, which doesn't make sense. But, Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, but the good thing was this. Deontay caught all of his targets.
Yeah, Deontay had a great, 10 catches on 10 targets for 98 yards. I think he actually went over 100, but I think something happened where penalties or something like that. But, yeah, it was great.
Lord.
Deontay Johnson.
He had 98 yards.
Yeah,
Good Lord. Did you see his route tree? They showed the after catch, and Deontay's going backwards. He did a full 360 at one point, and I'm just like, dude, go watch yourself some Penguins hockey and get north.
Yeah, I mean, he did pretty good with, like, his yak and stuff. He it was the best game he had all year, definitely, I thought.
Right.
It was about time. What, week 15?
Week 15. Congratulations, Deontay. You caught all your passes to yesterday. Now do more and score a touchdown.
I don't think it's going to happen in this offense right now. I mean, we never really talked about goal line, which, Chris, if you remember 2 years ago, I think we cried about the goal line, especially towards the end of the Steelers' tremendous win streak, at least 1 million times. Now, fortunately, over the last 2 years, because one semi decent offensive line in terms of run blocking, even when it hasn't necessarily been good, it can allow you to QB sneak it over.
Yeah, I was about to say,
or a halfback. Yeah.
they're doing the quarterback sneak now, which is one of the best plays in football. I always thought, and they weren't doing it with Ben because I don't know, Ben didn't want to do it or whatever. But yeah, Trubisky's good at it. Pickett's good at it. So it's an easy play if you can execute it well.
Right. Even Matt Canada's executing it better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, going back to Kent, like he has – I like what he's done with the run game. I still don't know about his pass, like drawing up, route combinations and everything, but I don't know. I think they need someone to develop Pickett. I don't think the answer.
If they keep him, they better get a passing game coordinator that they're just going to put over as offensive coordinator whenever they inevitably let him go.
That is it. They need to get that. But who could they get?
Well, we'll think it's a great hire one day whenever they actually do it.
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't know.
I would say you could use a passing game coordinator because he can't be a passing game coordinator. Run game coordinator, fine.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the places he's been. Like, I don't think he's ever had like a great passing game.
Well, I could do some mini research on that real quick, but that would take time. But I mean, he's always been a run guy. I mean, you thought that he could build a quarterback for the love of God because he had the Peterman at Pitt, but I mean, it's just a different game in the NFL, man. I mean, I'm just happy that the guy, at the very least, doesn't have to go to the FCS level, and Chris, you don't have to say hi to him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was getting worried there at the beginning of the year. I thought he was going to be at Duquesne soon, but he's either staying or maybe Tomlin will make a move to get a little bit, a top-tier coordinator, which I think they need to do. But I don't know. I think he's probably positioned himself to at least get another NFL. I don't think he's a coordinator, but maybe quarterback's coach, run game coordinator, something like that.
But here's the thing. What do you expect out of the Raiders game on Saturday night? I'm going to be free. I won't be freezing in the press box. Hopefully not.
I think, like I said earlier, it'd be interesting to see what kind of Raiders team shows up. I mean, they're traveling across the country, and it's going to be really cold. I mean, they're in Las Vegas, so this is going to be different for them. So I think you have to give the Steelers the advantage there. If the Steelers, if they played like they did against Carolina, run the ball, stop the run, kind of like that old school mentality, old Steelers football, I think they'll win don't turn the ball over. I think they should win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another classic Steelers-Raiders game. Is going to be real close, per usual. You got to stop Josh Jacobs. They still have Darren Waller.
Yeah, they have good players.
No, Waller's out.
Oh, he's out. Well, you still got Devontae Adams.
That's what I'm worried
they'll
about.
do some things if you let them. But
it all depends on
the Steelers have to win this game. Like I don't think they'll be able to walk out of the stadium alive. None of them, if they lose this game.
I want to correct myself real quick. He is back. He is back. I took a quick look at that. He did return in that unbelievable, crushing loss for the Patriots. I mean, yeah.
I would ask a question, but it would probably be edited out of this podcast. But how did y'all feel about that? How did you guys feel about it? Because I know a lot of the Yinzers enjoyed it pretty well.
I think everyone enjoyed that with how many times the Patriots and Bill Belichick just smoked everyone around this league. I think it's proof. It was proof that you want to know something. Sometimes a guy gets his due back with how many dumb plays that went in the favor of the Patriots. It was elementary for it to eventually turn back on them. What were they thinking with that Stanford band-esque snafu of epic proportions?
In a tie game.
I didn't even – I was like, oh, what happened here? And And I remember as the play was going on, I'm like, it's 24-24. What are they doing? And then I see the pitches, and I'm like, no, just go down, and dude throws it back, and I'm like, and I'm watching Chandler Jones go up for this, and I'm like, dear God, what did he just do?
No.
And then I see the stiff arm, and I'm like, then I start laughing. But I mean, that was just the most. I never thought that I would see a play like that with Bill Belichick of the head coach of the New England Patriots. Whoever offensively thought of that should be this. That was gross negligence of being.
Well, what did Belichick say after the game?
Typical Belichick speak. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I was shocked that Belichick would do something like it was a tie game. That's the thing that really like if they're down by like I don't know if they're trailing, it's different. But like or even that. I mean, it just go to overtime. I just don't. I don't get the Patriots. Like just shows you all these coaches. We talk about how these coaches think they're like so smart, and they do something that's like so amateur. Where like throwing it back, like something you do in like Madden, like try to like you don't want to go to overtime, so you're like doing some crazy play.
It's just if you guys go throw a Hail Mary.
That was pretty fun. That stiff arm is pretty epic there on Mac Jones.
Yeah, and people were actually comparing it to Ben Roethlisberger's shoestring tackle of Nicholas Harper. Now, as much as I want to say this, Chandler Jones is a grown man. And I mean grown man. Ben Roethlisberger was 6'5", 270. And also, Nick Harper was coming off of, he got stabbed in the knee by his, what should be his ex-girlfriend or something like that, the night before. So he was barely, so there was so much lore behind that play that people forget.
Yeah.
I mean, Mac Jones is an athlete because he made it to the NFL. I don't think he has the power to stop Chandler Jones, who has led the league in sacks, and if not, has been at the top of it for a while, including against that very team, for that very team.
Yeah.
So you think the Raiders can build this with momentum, or you think it'd be too tough to come on a short? It's a short week, kind of.
Both these teams are like 6 foot, 6 eggs, half a dozen in the other. They both are playing on short weeks.
Yeah.
Steelers were on the road. Even though it's East Coast, but they traveling less. It's at this point, your professionals, they know how to handle situations like this. So it's like, and I don't know what the line is on this game yet. So
I think the Steelers were 2.5 point favorites or something like that. A different, it's like a 1.5 or 2.5, depending on what
so basically almost an even game.
Yeah. If they could stop the run, I mean, the Steelers, they did a really good job against stopping Carolina, who had a strong running game coming to the only 21 yards they gave up. Right. So, with the weather and everything, they have to stop Jacobs. I think that's the big key. Devontae Adams worries me because I don't think the Steelers cornerbacks are that very good. Right. So
they could do a lot of things, but and plus you got to figure out, well, there's not going to be any participation. It's just going to be cold as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they know what to do in that situation, the Steelers at least. So, I mean, I'm expecting a good game because of how much lore, how much history this matchup has. I'm just expecting something that makes this a game that's at least worth everyone's time.
Yeah, they're wearing the throwbacks too. They just announced the 1970 ones. But I mean, I love the immaculate reception and everything. We're gonna hear about it, throughout the week. What do you guys think about? Do you think? I mean, it was 1972, so it was like 50 years ago. Like, obviously, it was a great play, but there are some people in Pittsburgh that think the play's a little bit overrated.
Well, when your entire franchise didn't really do much at that point, you kind of And then from there, they went on to have this historic run in that same decade. You search for launching points, as I
and
said
this is
earlier.
the launching point. And two,
Bingo.
and also, they still don't have they still have no concrete evidence either way if he caught the ball or did not catch the ball.
I mean, it definitely hit off Tatum, I think, though. They even did a football life story where they had like a physics guy,
Well, that's not it.
Yeah, I know.
We're talking about when Franco Harris caught or the ball. We don't know if that hit the ground or not. No, there is no evidence to prove that he did or did not catch it.
Yeah, I mean, they have.
Don't tell me after 50 years you can't find it.
They have different angles where it shows that.
Yeah, they had a brand new angle a few years ago that was like kind of like a play design angle, for lack of a better term, that still couldn't prove it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great play, a historic moment in NFL history. The whole, like you mentioned, Ty, the background, how the Steelers, turned the franchise around. I guess people think it's a little bit overrated because it didn't result in like a championship, that year, like, or that game. It didn't, but I mean, people might just be tired of, like, sometimes when you keep on throwing stuff at people and stuff, people just kind of start to get tuned out.
Because Steeler fans don't throw anything at anybody's face. They're humble, they're nice, they don't talk about the past, they don't live on the past. They it's just no, they don't do that.
Everyone. It's not about what a champion, again, as I say, it's momentum for a franchise.
Yeah.
It's not about if a championship came from it. The biggest play in NFL history, probably at least in the past 24 years, was the Music City Miracle. And the Titans made it to the Super Bowl and lost.
Yeah.
But it's still a play that we talk about, and Kevin Dyson to this day still gets asked around her. He's a principal for a school in Tennessee, and he still gets asked about it. Franco still gets asked about that, and they're going to ask about that until he passes away. It's a huge moment towards a franchise, and sometimes it doesn't matter what happened with it, because there's a lot of things. What, you don't want to talk about the Immaculate Extension? That resulted in nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about
35-3.
You talk
that
about
resulted in nothing. But it result in a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
the greatest comeback of NFL history before last weekend, and not in a Super Bowl happened. That didn't result in a championship. The Bills made it back to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they lost 4 straight.
This is just from some Pittsburgh media people around town. I'm
sorry.
I'm just giving the devil's advocate view. And you know why some people believe this too, as we mentioned on this podcast before, it probably has to do with the Franco Harris Penguin situations. So,
possibly, but I can separate art from the artist. I cannot I mean, that's another thing. And also, you're playing devil's advocate for the Pittsburgh media. Well, the devil is a lie, man. Come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. Celebrate a big moment that changed the history of your favorite franchise, the franchise you cover, and quit being so whiny. Because at least it's a good thing to talk about this week when the Steelers are pretty much mid.
He said mid?
Mid.
I used to say it all the time, Brandon, before it got popular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree. I think it's a great play. I just, there's other plays in Pittsburgh history that people think that might be better. But
tell me if they tell me it, then I'll give it some thought. But I can't.
The championship plays.
I mean, yeah, those are always huge, but still, it's everything around it that makes it special for his franchise. And discounting that, even saying that it's overrated, when you can formally put it as the changing point. It was the first playoff victory for this franchise. What do you mean? That stuff's important. Stop trying to be.
Whoa. You gotta relax sometimes. You can't just be going off the rails like that.
I get an opportunity to go off the rails every once in a while. I'm even kill. I just can't stand the way that people can't just say it's a great thing. It's so important. Let's stop trying to underrate. Yes. We'll wrap it up here as you could hear for this Monday. I'm just gassed up. Merry Christmas, everyone. I mean, have some happiness. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. This is nice, happy time. And you've been listening to the Renegade Blitz.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on renegadeblitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.